Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to Upside Down. Today I want to go through some of the cool tips and tricks that CD Projekt Red are using inside Cyberpunk. I'll be checking their deep dive gameplay video. Enjoy.
Okay. What now? Johnny?
You can see that they are using very classic and good technique for adding more contrast into your scene. Not only that they have very dark and also very bright spots, but also part of the lights have warm color and the rest of them have cold one. This adds extra layer of contrast into your scene and makes things pop up a little bit more. There is no way that they can pull it off to have that many people in the same area. I'm a little bit skeptical about that. We've seen some other games that usually on their gameplay demo they have quite a lot of crowd. They have many people there, but yeah, usually at the end they cut it down when the game is already shipped, because don't get me wrong, it's completely doable and they most likely created all the characters and they have all the animations and all the things prepared, but the thing is that it's very expensive in terms of performance, so it's very hard to optimize a scene like this. This why I think that they will cut down on crowded places the number of people that you can see.
In this video, you'll experience a segment of a quest from the middle of the game. We're currently in Pacifica, one of Night City's 6 unique districts.
No Pacifica well. Nah.
Here I will stop for a second. I want to talk a little bit again about the same thing. You can see that first there is quite a lot of crowd. There is lots of other characters which are walking around. So again, I think that this is a place where it will be lower down in terms of population. But we can see again the same pattern. We see warm and cold lights. This time it's the other way around, like all the background and everything is a nice sunset, and then we have the lights which are inside the building, and on all the architectural elements it's blue one, and gives this extra contrast, because it's very important to separate the background and the foreground and have this depth. It adds extra layer of depth into the whole scene.
The Grand Imperial Mall is a whole other story. It was one of the last developments in Pacifica to lose its funding. Until recently it stood vacant, but now a gang called the Animals has moved in for reasons unknown.
Something's not going right for the big guy up top.
And that's what we need to learn in order to earn the trust of the Voodoo Boys, the Animals' rivals.
What the hell?
Could fucking tell me what you plan to do first.
You take job.
Cyberpunk environment looks so badass, so cool. It's art style on its own. It's very cool.
The Voodoo Boys are the most skilled at using the net.
Why? What for?
But places like this have their advantages. If you're in need of rare goods or illegal cyberware, Pacifica's bustling
Let me go back a little bit. Did you see this store? This the background. There was these boxes at the wall. I know from where they took the reference. Some time ago, I went. They took it from Holland and Amsterdam. It's a very popular thing to have this places where you can just go and buy some food or drinks or anything, and usually you just go into an empty store which just has these walls of small boxes, and you just pay there and grab whatever you want. It's a very cool thing, and I think it fits very nicely into the Cyberpunk team.
Cyberpunk 2077. The Voodoo Boys are the most skilled at using the net.
Why? What for?
You are my vessel now. Through Agua, I see what you see, hear what you hear.
This mysterious gang of highly skilled netrunners has close ties.
I want you to notice something. Every time that there is an interaction, like close-up interaction with another character, in order for those characters to look like more badass and to look cooler, notice the light. That every time we have light coming from underneath the character, so their like lower part, and it gives a lot more of the details of the face and a lot more of the details of the character, and also it puts them into this like looking more tough scenario. And here again the same thing. We can see the warm colors which are coming from the right side of the character, and on the other side we have the colder color. You can see that to separate the character and then the background to have still some depth, they left this dark area in between the character, like the wall behind him. It's almost completely dark, and then the environment on the other side, it's a little bit brighter, so you again have this like couple of levels, different levels of detail, and it creates again this depth of the scene.
An exception this time.
Mr. Hand sent me. Said you got merc work needs doing.
Still, to earn their trust, we need to prove our worth. Placide, one of the Voodoo Boys' higher-ups, has offered us a mission.
Oh, that's such a nice frame. Such a nice frame. Here, like this just panning of the camera and how the whole scene is set up, it looks so nice because all these lines draw the attention of the viewer in the scene. It has so many elements, so many different things, and you can see that there is just a very simple light which comes probably just the directional light from the sun, and there is not any other lights or any flashy markers or billboards or anything like this, and still the scene looks very rich because all these floors and all these lines that are going across, it creates a very nice frame.
The animals
Great.
are not your normal gang. Their presence in Pacifica is suspicious. They value might above all else and wear melee combat implants to raise their prowess in combat. Their beverage of choice is juice, a potent strength and speed-enhancing concoction. As sought-after bouncers, they're usually dispersed throughout town. As skilled street-level business types, they've cornered the market in illegal substances and underground live-or-die prize fights. When they converge in one spot...
I would like to pause here a little bit and talk about this gang. So I wanted you to notice while they're presenting this gang, like all the lights suddenly became like dimmer and much darker, and they're talking that they are doing like their illegal activities underground and like in the shades, and the lighting supports what they're presenting in the game. So this is like a very subtle thing, but a very nice touch. So just look from what they are doing. Like it's a great example of how you can support the the story behind your characters and how you can support the idea behind like the world that you are building. It's a very good example.
It's then they appoint the fastest and strongest among them as their ad hoc leader. In this case, it's a woman named
Sasquatch, and then we are going into a blue light.
This is the tech Placide was talking about. It seems non-standard for the animals. And this is where we come in. Getting to the van won't be easy, but we're more than qualified for the job, which we can complete in one of many ways. The character creation in Cyberpunk 2077 is the kind you'd expect from a full-fledged RPG. You start by choosing your past, important because this unlocks special options at important story junctures. You also fully custom, so even someone as fast and strong as
No,
Sasquatch,
that's such
the
a
leader
nice
of this group of animals,
scene and
is
such a
not
nice
possible
light
to
setup
beat
with
or
these
solo.
light panels. We have the blue light from the top, the warm light from those panels. Oh, and they move, and the floor is a little bit wet and very reflective. It creates very cool feeling. Very cool feeling.
It's our choice if we want to finish her off or spare her. Your Cyberpunk, your rules. If you'd rather sneak around, hide, and strike from the shadows, no problem. Just
See,
develop your
notice the same thing.
to get
They're
around
saying
obstacles
about
or
a
have
stealth
the
element,
tech
and
to have it
suddenly the whole scene becomes darker and becomes more stealthier.
Net running abilities mean hacking skills that let us use our cyber deck to breach access points.
I like how on many places the floors and the surfaces are not completely dry. They have a little bit of wet on them, so this way they add up to the whole details of the scene, and by reflecting, and it looks very cool. Photographers are using the same type of technique to create all these nice cool images, especially I see all this like in Asia with the neons and so on, where they just put a little bit of water on the ground and make a shot that has those reflections, and it looks much cooler than having just the dry asphalt or just a dry surface. So it's a very good way to add easy way to add more details in your scene.
And that means it can be hacked.
Ours is a wolf.
Which brings us back to cyberspace. You don't get to do anything in the net unnoticed. There's always someone watching. It could be corpos, or even worse, it could be network.
Even here, look at this hacking screen. So again, like they're building up to the whole fantasy of hacking and what we've seen from videos and mainstream media, that you are in this darker environment, there is this green light coming from the side, so it supports the whole fantasy of hacking. Like the light just complements the whole fantasy around you.
And grant them the upper hand over Netwatch.
You can see here in this frame what I'm talking about, the light from below. It looks so much cooler for characters, and everything looks like so much badass because it's all the shapes pop up, and it makes them look like really badass.
As you can see, we have many possible options, but in each case, we take a risk.
Think I'll just stick to my plan.
One other thing that I want you to notice is how the atmosphere changes. Like we have those frames from time to time of where you are outside, and on those the light is there is just the skylight. There's not a lot of other lights around, and it feels more calm. And we never saw actually any action on those scenes. We always saw them into the more darker places and into tunnels, and where the light is a lot more harsh and more intense. And I'm curious at the end when the game is released, if the gameplay will be following the same rules. Like, are we going to engage more into combat and into more this kind of activities when we are in darker environments, or we will or it will be more calm? And also, is it going to be like more calm gameplay and more of an exploration gameplay while we are outside and not in those dark tunnels? It's very interesting for me at the end to see the result. I have the feeling that maybe it will be something like that, not on 100%, but for most of the cases we will have this more calm gameplay while we are walking in the world, and then when we get to those darker tunnels with more harsh lights, more contrast and everything, we will get more into the action.
Ever heard of Johnny Silverhand, a rebel rocker boy who will be your companion throughout your...
You can see here, for example, in this scene, how they use mostly red light, and you immediately lose a lot of the contrast. You can see that the character and the background, they blend more. It doesn't have the same depth, and also the scene itself, it just has a part of the scene that is of the background that is a little bit lit, the rest is darker. The character is of course more lit, so he can pop up a little bit more, but we immediately lose some of the detail only because there is not that high of a contrast in between the lights and also in between the colors. Like, compare it to this one or this scene here, it's a huge difference.
And that chip in your head, the one thanks to which Johnny lives inside your mind. Well, that's a story for another time.
Alright, great. Thank you all for staying with me. Hope you liked this video. Subscribe and like for more. See you next time.